Hey folks, and welcome to Greg's Golf Shack. Fall golf is here. It's a cold, windy morning in Newfoundland. And we'll find if we're out playing in cold weather, we end up missing a lot more greens. The ball isn't going as far, our bodies aren't turning quite like we're used to, and we might need to rely on our chipping to help save some scores. But the tips I'm going to give you today work all year round to improve your chipping. And what I want to address is when we cast our hands in the chip, very often causing us to really hit behind the ball like this, or causing us to kind of lift up and blade the ball across the green. So we're looking to improve our overall chipping contact. So if you're someone who often faces this kind of a thing where you're hitting that ground and the chip flies out a little higher, a little awkward, and you'd rather hit that nice and crisp like that, we're going to cover it in these tips. Now, one of the main reasons we might be doing this is because we cast the club. We use our hands and we kind of bow these wrists out like this, and we kind of stab at the ball with our hands. And even if we're turning and our arms are moving, that'll cause the arms to kind of stop moving, and we'll throw the club at the ball. With chipping, we want to be a lot softer than that. We would like to have our hands a lot more neutral. Now, I appreciate Phil Mickelson has some great tips. It helped me with my chipping many years ago, where he has this hinge and hold method. I'm going to ask, if you're really struggling with this, to hold off on the hinge. What we'd like to do is have neutral hands through impact. So what we're going to do is a couple of one-handed chipping practice drills. Now I'm using a 58-degree lob wedge. You can use a club that is comfortable for you chipping around the green. Same applies. And what I'd like to do is start with our trail arm. We're going to do some one-handed chips. Now it's best to practice this on a tight fairway, the fringe of a green. Very difficult for these soft one-handed chips to do it out of the rough. So I'm just using an artificial turf here. Now I'd like us to get our wrist in a little bit of a cupped position like this. And we'd like to maintain that through the swing, even into the follow through. Now, that's just to try and get the feeling of having our hands sort of in this forward press position. Now, I like to start this drill with this trail hand with the ball off our back foot. Just because our shoulder's on that side, it makes it a little bit easier. And then we'll slowly move the ball forward just to help us get the feeling for where our hands are at impact. This is going to be a little bit of an exaggerated feel. And we're looking for decent chips. You're going to hit some mishits and everything, but one of the common things we'll find if we're casting our clubs is we're going to scoop the ball. We might hit some fat, might hit some thin, but our common flaw is to kind of flip our hand under and open that club face, and you either blade it or you get a really weak kind of mini flop shot like that. So by maintaining that wrist angle, we're kind of maintaining the loft of the club and trying to get a feeling for that contact. So we want to try and do a few of those. And they're going to be fat, they're going to be thin. It's very difficult to chip with one hand. You're just getting that feeling. And then slowly move the ball forward in the stance, because it really forces you to try and have that hand kind of forward at impact like that. And that was a decent one, but it's very difficult to kind of avoid hitting them fat. And then once you get a feeling for that, switch over to your lead hand. And it's the same thing. We'd like to kind of bow that wrist a little bit and try to maintain that feeling all the way through. This one is the harder one, where you might find you're hitting some fat shots. But still, I like to start with the lead hand with the ball off the front foot. Again, just because that's where our shoulder is, it can be a little bit easier. Try a few of those, and it's the same thing. We're going to hit a few of those, try to get the feeling for where our hand is, and then slowly move the ball back. I'm just going to jump right to the back foot, and it's a little bit more difficult. I'm not worried about a target, I'm just worried about contact here. So not too bad. Once you do a few of those and you have the feeling of both your hands, this wrist cupped, this wrist bowed a little bit, and neutral hands, not really getting wristy, you should be able to find, if you chip a few, you've got really good control and feel. Really good contact with nice light wrists. Now again, this is my 58 degrees, so I'm getting some loft. So I'll switch over to my 54 degree and everything still applies here. Neutral hands, and I'm getting nice, solid contact. And ball position, it's really up to you. You're gonna find you get different trajectories. If the ball is a little bit back in the stance, it might come out lower. If it's up in the stance, it might come out higher. I suggest just practice these in the middle of the stance. Since we did that little drill, knowing where our hands are at different positions, that might be the most ideal place to try and hit your neutral chips with your neutral hands. So give that a try and see if that helps give you better idea of where your hands are, and see if it can give you better contact and avoid stubbing that ground without casting your arms. You have a nice neutral, beautiful chipping contact. I hope that tip helps. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Greg's Golf Shack.